I think we forget that metacognition is a really powerful uh, tool for learning. And that reflection in metacognition is not really something you can just chat GPT, you know? How did you feel about your learning in this assignment? That doesn't work. The most fun lesson that I have had so far was with a group of grade 10s. I teach English. So we happened to be doing, the literary terms, and it was early in the year. So we were reviewing all those literary terms that you use in poetry, etc. And so I basically projected on our screen ChatGPT, and I asked it to write a poem about puppies. Just please write a poem about puppies. So basically, the students were wowed with how fast it goes and everything else. They thought that was great. So it was awesome because immediate engagement was a complete factor here, uh, which I know most people will say that's incredible. So just that alone makes me love it. Anyway, the poem was very much Hallmark card like, but even more sickly sweet. So it was kind of over the top. And the students recognized this immediately, where they were like, well, yeah, it's a poem, but it's not that great. And they were able to then pick it apart and say, well, how do we know it's a poem? And they were naming all the different literary devices that were used, and how it had a rhyme scheme, and how it was in verse form, and all those sorts of things. So it was awesome because they were using all those things that we had learned, but it didn't seem like drudgery uh, as it normally would have. If I said, here's a poem, I want you to pick it apart, that would have been just the worst thing to ask them to do. But making them pick apart the one Chat GPT wrote was wholly different. They liked kind of beating up on the computer. I think basically what it ended up doing was I saw the most critical thinking, such deep critical thinking from my students during that whole lesson. And that was incredible because it seemed to take down barriers in the sense that, you offer a poem by a famous poet and you say, I want you to analyze it or critique it. And immediately students think, what's the right answer? And then they're scared that they'll get something wrong, like naming the different figurative devices or what it means. The fact that ChatGPT wrote it like 2 minutes ago, they knew that nobody has taken this apart before. So nobody knows the right answers. And it seemed to make them a little more willing to jump in and do that, compared to, the ones that are very cautious because they're worried about, am I right? They don't want to get anything wrong. So they basically, they tore it apart and figured out all the different devices. Then our discussion moved to, well, then how do we improve it? So then we had a lot of critical thinking, because then various students were saying, well, it needs this or it needs that. And so then we worked at taking the poem through multiple iterations by tweaking the prompts. So it was great because it definitely had them thinking critically, but it also was showing them, how do you generate a useful prompt that will actually give you what you want. So one fun exercise that a colleague of mine does is she has had her students write a paragraph about their favorite place. And the whole idea is should be a descriptive paragraph. So then she'll take those paragraphs and put them in AI as an image prompt. So then the students critique the image at the end. Is this what your favorite place actually looks like? What's missing? What's wrong? And how would we improve our writing to then make the image what you were thinking? I know there is a tendency for some to instantly want to go to, I need a detector, like the plagiarism detectors. And I worry about AI detectors because I feel as good as one might be, it's instantly outdated. Secondly, um, what I have found with them is it gives a lot of false positives. For example, I had another colleague share with me that AI detectors have labeled Shakespeare and the Declaration of Independence as being done by AI. How reliable are they really?